4080. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady. Industry rule number 4080. Record company people are shady.
Industry rule number 4080, everybody. Okay? Where culture and content come together. My name is Tally. The joint guest today, I won't call him a special guest, I'll call him a joint guest because he might keep coming back. We'll see how he feels. Okay? Is Eric Lee. I'm not going to even sit here and define or describe. I'm just going to let the conversation speak for itself. And then maybe at the end, we'll talk about what a resume may or may not be. But this, so let's go back to the era conversation, right? You just said, if you're going to speak about the greatest of all time, right? You said, you got to speak about the 70s, because the 70s is the establishment of it, right? I mean, you said Grandmaster Caz is a Grandmaster Caz because he wrote the first hit record, right? So there is no hip hop without a Grandmaster Caz. So that has, so it has to be, you know, if there's a Mount Rushmore for each decade, right? Caz has to be on the 1970s Mount Rushmore.
And Melly Mel.
Right? And then Melly Mel as well, too, because he was, in theory, if you just go by records, right? He wrote the first poignant hip-hop record when he wrote The Message with Grandmaster Flash, right? That type of thing. And as you say, you go into the 80s, early 80s, right? You got groups, Run DMC, Beastie Boys, turns into Houdini, right? Stetson Sonic, that's when the group elements start turning. Late 80s, you start having the
Big Daddy Kane,
or what may be perceived as the first golden age, right? Because if you talk that 86, if you talk that, like if you start with The Bridge, start with The Bridge, right? 87, 88, or start even a little bit later. Here we go. Go a little further back. Start 86, 87. We go and Rakim, right? Doing my melody, and Eric B for president, right? And that turns into Shan. That turns into KRS. That leads into Kane. That leads into Biz. That leads into G-Rap. That leads into Salt and Pepper, right? Because Salt and Pepper's 88 too. That leads into Heavy, because Heavy D's late 80s as well too. So the solo rappers start doing their thing.
And the thing is, to say who's the greatest is you can do it, but it's like
think about the 88, think about the 80s thing, right? Because you would have people say Kane, right? So for the 80s, the four names, right, would be Rakim, Kane, Coogee Rap, and I'm missing one. Rakim, Kane, G-Rap. Oh, KRS-One. And KRS-One. Those would be your four, right? And you would say this one's better than that one, right? And then even then, like you said, personal preference, right? Because if you're talking about lyrical with style, then you put Kane and Rakim at the lead of that one, because it's the cachet on top of the wordplay, right? If you're talking about straight wordplay, right? It's G-Rap all day, right? If you say write down line for line what you said, right? You be like G-Rap, he's a monster, okay? But then if you say, well, who's the lyrical artist? It's Chris. Chris is the best artist of all of them, right? Like, for example, if there was a show, whose show you going to first? You going to a BDP show first, absolutely, okay, to see Chris. And then remember, Chris also had wordplay with Patois. He was doing the Jamaican thing as well too, right? That the other ones wasn't doing. And being a teacher,
but
right?
The key thing though is it's okay. No one's wrong to say either one was the best. You know what I mean?
At this point,
because it was a great era. We love them all, and it all depends on what you cater to. Like people like Rakim's laid back, slow, like that flowing, easy going melody.
He never cursed.
And you never heard him battle anyone. So how do we know how he would have been if he battled somebody?
Whereas Chris battled everybody.
Exactly.
So we knew he was a beast in that sense.
That's the beauty of it. And that's why, actually, I miss the days of being in Mount Vernon and on 630 East Lincoln growing up. Ooh. And we would be outside arguing who's better. And I'm saying these rhymes, they saying those rhymes. And you go back and forth. And it was still fun. We had fun with it. But that still was part of the culture. It was okay to do. Not like this young kid I'm telling you about at work who got so indignant about how great
he wanted to fight.
Is. He got real mad. He's better than everybody, and getting up and getting mad. And I'm like, dog, you need to calm down, because it's not that serious to me, because you like who you want to like.
Well, that's what makes. But that's what makes. I went back to the '88 era because there's been enough context and time that has passed that you could sit back and say it's not about good, bad, or indifferent. It's about personal preference, because in their own lane they were all great for what they did. Back then, those kids were the indignant ones, right? That wanted to fight. Rakim's better than Kane because Rakim's a 5%er. You know what I'm saying? And Kane's not showing you what he wants to do. You're like, okay, here we go. Here we go. Right? And then the other part that hindsight tells you as well, too, is they all loved each other. Like you remember how you remember how we said, how the hell did Flavor Flav get on that back album cover of the Eric B and Rakim album? Where the hell did he come? Where the hell did he come from? Right? And it wasn't that because we thinking music, right? And we say Rakim and PE are pseudo different things. So how'd that happen? No, it's just a Long Island thing. Okay, it's just that he's from Long Island, they're from Long Island, and Eric B, ready to laugh, got all the drug dealers that he grew up with in the hood and said, come to the album cover shoot. They're on the front and they're on the back. That's all it is. Okay, no more, no less. But they all liked each other like that. We found, remember, the story came out about Kane saying that, he was being teased because he came to the Juice Crew later than everybody else. Did you hear the story?
No.
So basically, Juice Crew was a get money crew, okay? And then the rappers represented the Juice Crew for Queens, okay? And Marley and Shan, they all ran with those guys and it was the, quote, musical representative of the Juice Crew, okay? Kane came along because Kane ran around with Biz. He came later. So there was a whole thing where you had to prove yourself to be a Juice Crew member. So they put Kane through a little bit of like, almost like a little bit of baby hazing, if you will, saying, you're in, but you ain't Juice Crew yet. Like, this is when Raw's on the street, by the way. Like, Raw's out.
He was the man at that time.
Okay, you're not really Juice Crew. So what happened was, and I'm paraphrasing, so please don't kill me, Kane, when the story comes out. Basically, when they did the Bridges Over thing, they knew that Shan couldn't literally couldn't hang out with KRS. Same with the Kane. It's like, you gotta get a KRS. Little do we know that KRS helped Kane move out of his apartment.
That's crazy.
Like, true story. Like, he helped him move.
That's crazy.
So Kane was like, Chris is my man. I'm not battling Chris. Man, you ain't Juice Crew like that. But Kane kept making him records. So it wasn't even a music thing. It was more of a, remember, at that point in time, street culture and hip hop culture were an equal thing. Like, you could be a drug dealer and be just as popular, if not more popular, than the local rapper. Whereas that's a little bit skewed now. Okay, to a certain extent, depending on what you are, if you want to talk BMF nowadays, whatever the case may be. Right. But that's what it was. So, but hindsight's now. But we have never known that then, right? Back then, in theory, we're saying, where is Kane? Because we know they got somebody that can go get Chris. Right? Pick your BC date because you're history.
One battling, I don't know. He's just like a battle cat.
But he's the one. But see, he taught L. I'm not saying he taught L this. I'm saying that L has this same trait. Okay, where and who has this trait too? Tupac has this trait. Okay, it's a little bit less of what I say and a lot more of how I say it. Okay, right? It's not Mama said knock you out. It's Mama said knock you out.
And you know what's interesting about that too? You know what's interesting about that?
And that's why the world loves it.
Let me tell you what I've always said. That there's some artists that's a lot of style. And they win you over with their style. And I'm going to give you offenses. Not to say Snoop Dogg isn't the most lyrical dude. He's okay lyrically.
Jay said it.
But where Snoop sells you on is the G. It's the style.
Jay said it.
It's the style.
Jay said it. Jay said he said Snoop can count and you like it. Yeah. He said 1, 2. Yeah. I said nobody else. I said you know what, you damn right. Can't nobody else count. And you say it's okay.
Even Missy's a lot of style.
Oh, beyond.
So she's very stylish.
Beyond.
They sell you on the style, not so much as being
beyond
lyrical, articulate artists. So I learned, you like us, we're dudes that we've been in this game a long time. A music collector, making tracks, doing all. I learned that as I go along, that there are certain artists that we like them, and like for instance, I was playing Terrence Martin for you. Mm-hmm. Do you know who Terrence Martin is?
No.
All right, so he's an artist that he's so dope because he raps, he produces, and he plays the horn. So he does jazz,
plays saxophone,
and he's I love him. He's dope. A lot of production. I heard he did production on the Kendrick album. But it's just something about the vibe of him that I love. Not so much as the lyrics. And back in the day when I was younger, I judged MCs strictly by their lyric skills. Yeah. Like, if you didn't come with the lyric skills, I didn't like you. That's just how I was. I counted you out. You wasn't in the Kane and the big. I didn't put you in the whole list of those guys. Now, I don't know if it's because I'm older or I'm looking at music differently or listening differently, but there's a lot of artists that's not so lyrical that I like their stuff.
Well, this is the beauty of it. Okay, back then we didn't have a history. See, you have context and history now to play back. Hip hop's not 20 years old. Hip hop's 40 plus years old, going on 50 years old. That's half a century. Okay, so we're talking about hip hop no different than other people. We talk about rock and roll or R&B. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Okay, remember we had a conversation before where I said like people from the 70s, they looked at Rick James as a horrible artist because of his flamboyance and his raunchiness, whereas the generation before came with a class of how they fell in love and were like. So, for example, Rick James was the anti-Isley Brothers.
Right.
Okay, although Fire and Desire could be an Ozzy Brothers record, right? Okay, but Rick James is Rick James. So the generation beforehand is like, I can't with this guy. Yeah. He's talking about weed too much. Damn, made me the girl group after weed. Nasty. I can't with this guy. Yeah. Okay, but today, when it comes to funk, when it comes to one of the best R&B bass players in R&B history, it's a no-brainer. It's Rick James. Rick James was as funky as George Clinton. Yeah. Okay. And then you may say in that George Clinton days, people may mess with George Clinton because they were all high making the records. See, you see how like, you see what context gives you? Mm-hmm. Context because it says, we don't care about that. I just know that who can make a 15-minute record called Knee Deep where you're dancing the whole goddamn 15 minutes? The whole 15 minutes. And there's no real verbal, lyrical structure.
I think it was longer than that.
Okay. Where's the verses? It's just a bunch of
long music and noises and ad-libs.
And hooks and secondary hooks and B sections that they go back and forth to all the time, right? But that turns to that to this day, at any function, you put it on right now.
Absolutely.
It doesn't matter if you're white, black, purple, a wedding, damn near a funeral. They go, oh, here we go with that one record. Yeah. But back then, that context wasn't there. Mm-hmm. So time gives us that context. We've had, like I just said before. So here we go. So a Biz Markie. Okay, a Missy Elliott, a Ludacris, okay, a Shock G, a Humpty, okay, a Bushwick Bill, right? Those 5 names alone give you character status. O Dirty, ODB. So now you got character status.
Character
so now, but look how many we've had. So now when we see one, we recognize one.
Exactly.
Okay, but back then, Biz, in theory. Not now he's a legend, but in theory, he was the clown that had the hot beat from Marley. Absolutely. And we listened to the Marley beats and him doing the hooks when we listened to him, because to us, we want to hear, we would love to hear. Remember how we felt when we found that Marley didn't produce more on Paid in Full? Because remember, he did Eric B for President and did what was the B-side? My Melody. Marley did those 2 records. He basically was teaching Eric B how to produce. And then Eric B took off and did the rest of the records. Because Eric B studied under Marley Marl. And so they lost Professor. See, people don't know that. Okay? And then go back and remember, at the end, G-Rap Records, Streets of New York, lost Professor. Eric B, they produced him because that was the Marley circle. Okay, so anyway, I didn't want to get too far off the point of the character thing, but we have character references now. So when we see them, we embrace them. We don't say what are they doing, but with Biz, we had to kind of, let me give you a theory on Biz that's going to make people think. Remember when Biz first came out, Biz had the 12 inches. The magnificent record player from Prism, right? He wasn't on Warner Brothers, right? Remember, Make the Music and Nobody Beats the Biz were on the radio for like a year. Yeah. Before, a year plus. Am I missing something? Before he even came out. So here's what I say that he's the first. Biz Markie's the first Drake. Remember You're the Best? That was an independent record. And the record he had with Young Money, right? Those independent records played for like a year and a half before he signed to a label. Yeah. And he was taking over the radio waves. Yeah. For that year and a half, you could not escape Biz Markie. And he wasn't signed to a major label. That's a blueprint.
That's true. Yeah,
rest in peace. Rest in peace.
It was never about being the best rapper. It was about having fun.
But that dude right there,
crazy.
If you ever said to yourself like, this guy just hip hop. Yeah. Like if you put a time capsule and say, well, show me some hip hop.
That's hip hop.
Go look at this dude named Biz Markie. Because the other thing too, and this is just for respect to him, right? It's not about a look thing. It's not about a gold thing. It's not about a money thing. Although he had those things, right? He walked around with a big gold chain like everybody else did, right? But he didn't walk around and say my gold chain's my thing. Right? And he also was the first person to say that I don't have to have an image to be a rapper. When you think about Just a Friend, that smacks in the face of everything that hip hop was doing at that point in time. Everything with hip hop was like, this is hip hop, and we talking about hip hop the right way. He was like, no, I'm just being a little bit silly over
Video
here.
with the piano and the wig,
Right.
like Mozart or Beethoven. I think.
So pop quiz real quick. What's your favorite Bismarck record?
Favorite Bismarck record is
Quick.
The Vapors.
Okay, Lou, favorite Bismarck record? Quick.
Going off.
Go off.
So my favorite Bismarck record is Something for the Radio.
Oh yeah, boom, 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 to get you dance. You want to dance? Yeah.
I was like, this record right here.
yeah.
Because for the first time in hip hop history, a rap record with no lyrics, that's still a rap record.
You're right. It didn't have it. He had a few lyrics in there.
Yeah, but he's talking. Wherever I lay my hat is my home. At the 3:45 moment. Besides that, he's talking. I want to thank my woman.
Yeah.
She want to thank his woman.
a few lyrics
Molly
in
want to
it.
thank his woman.
Yeah.
Right? But that was my
beat,
favorite Bismarck joint. But what I loved about the album though is when Bismarck is going off. Because remember, this is the Bismarck album came literally. I can't lie, and I wish Quan was here because he probably knew the dates. It had to be a year and a half after the first singles dropped.
And that's The Biz Never Sleeps, right?
The Biz Never Sleeps was the first album, right? And the first single from that was The Biz is Going Off. They shot a video to that, okay? And I remember being uber impressed that after those two records, like Nobody Beats The Biz and Make the Music, that record came.
out, yeah.
I was like, wow. So that was my first impressive moment with Marley Marl. Where I said, okay, Marley Marl is he's no punk. He's not just making beats for these guys. He's producing artists here. Because that record is an amazing homage to the first two records with him understanding what he's supposed to be doing. So I love that joint. And then remember, they shot a video for the Vapors, and they shot a video for something for the radio. It was a yacht cruise. Remember, it was a yacht cruise. They were just walking around dancing and playing around. It's a yacht cruise video.
Yeah, so long ago.
Yeah.
Man.
So that's my favorite Biz record.
Okay.
It's in rotation right now.
Okay. So, what other stories should we tell? Because I got stories, y'all.
You got.
I got stories. I'm gonna tell y'all the story.
All right, so do a story that ties in. If you work your way up, that's fine. But tie into the timeline. So we're like in the 80s now. We're talking about Biz, right? That's 88. That's 88.
I'm gonna talk about
88.
Me and my crew.
Okay.
In the, I would say 90. Right?
Okay.
Trying to do our thing,
Walk the crew thing, because they got to know what the crew is, who the crew
I'm
is.
gonna cut through it.
Okay.
So I have my crew from
I'm saying
Mount
you could be graffiti artists. You could be break dancers.
I had my crew from Mount Vernon. We were, doing the rap thing. And it was me and Talent.
Let's do graffiti with Marcus or something.
He's a comedian now, but back in the day, me and
Wait, say
Talent
that again slowly. Because
me and my crew, we would call MEC Money Earning Crew, and my rap partner is now a comedian. He's been a comedian for the past
20-something years.
Yeah, for a minute now. But back when we were doing the rap thing, trying to do our thing, and then I just remember Bob Celestin. We mentioned. Did we mention that before? So Bob Celestin was managing us. He was Andre Harrell's partner at Uptown. All right.
Who is Bob Celestin today?
Well, I know then that he was a lawyer. He was his right hand man.
Yeah, he's still doing the thing.
Okay, and the thing is that I remember we were trying to get down with Uptown because Hav was there. Hav was all world Mount Vernon. He put Mount Vernon on the map. We were supposed to be the next crew coming out. But he was also telling us, listen, there's this guy Puffy who's an intern, and I don't want you talking to him because I don't want him taking my boys from me. If he talks to you, don't talk to him. He told us. And I'm like, wow.
So let's pause for 2 seconds. How ironic is that statement? Because Heavy D ended up being the head of A&R for Bad Boy, and worked at Uptown as an A&R person too, because he's bought So For Real there.
Yeah.
So he's all
Monifa.
so he's all intertwined with Puffy, but he says this statement before then.
This is back then.
This is before
this
then.
is when-
I'm just saying. I'm just giving the
before
concept.
then.
I'm just giving the concept, the irony of that statement. But keep going.
Just to show you, where I'm going with it is crazy because this is something I'll never forget and that lives with me. So we're leaving out of a studio session in Mount Vernon, Prospect Avenue. Who do we see? Puffy in a Volkswagen Cabriolet, a burgundy drop top. Yo, where you going? We going to 241st because they had the best pizza. yo, get in.
Pepinos.
Pepino. So we jump in the Volkswagen Cabriolet, and Puffy's like, yo, so what's up? And we're like, no, we chilling. We all right. What y'all doing? A little this, little that. We didn't want to talk to the man.
You listen to Hev.
Listening to Bob.
You listen to Bob. Okay.
And he was like, yo, I'm about to start this label, and y'all could be the first act on the label. And he's going on and on and on. And we wouldn't talk to him. He drops us off at 241st. Pepino's, all right, well, take the number, yo, stay up. That's the last time I saw that dude. And then now I'm working, printing newspapers, and I'm hearing puff, puff, puff everywhere. And
it's not cigarettes.
And I'm sitting there like, yo, it's so can you imagine for years now we're still trying to make it, and all I hear and see is Puff, knowing that we could have been
that he gave you that door.
It is crazy to even think about. When I tell people that story, they're like, you serious? I'm like, yo, I swear, I'm not making it up. So for years I lived with that we could have possibly, but then I say, well, maybe it's not meant for us, because we may have been like Shine, or we may have went through some things we don't know. Right. You don't know sometimes what God is planning for you. Yeah, but stories like that, I remember. I have a few other Heavy D and all that, but I have stories.
Shout out to the Volkswagen Cabriolet, who was like the first, outside of being in a Cherokee or a Jeep at that time, that was hood rich. A Cabriolet was kind of hood rich.
Drop top,
yeah, because you could drop a top.
Yeah, you had the top down.
Yeah, that was the thing. That's the thing. So just to give you a connection of like, and he knows this, right? So Big Chris.
Yeah.
Right? Big Chris, my brother, right? Mm-hmm. So Big Chris went to Mount St. Michael with Puff. Mm-hmm. Okay? So Puff was 2 years older than him. Okay? So interesting story is that, so this just gets crazier. All right? So Puffy knows Chris on some we went to high school together stuff. Non-music industry stuff. Okay? So to the point of where if Chris walks out this studio and Puffy drives by, he stops his car, right, to talk to his high school friend. Right? Not music, not money, just that's my high school friend. Okay? We end up going to St. John's together. Okay? And Misa Hilton goes to St. John's. Okay? Chris is trying to talk to Misa. Misa's like, you have no idea what I'm dealing with here, sir. You have no idea what I'm dealing with here, sir. Okay? So Misa ends up leaving St. John's to be Misa Hilton, the stylist, and the baby mom, the first baby mom, that type of thing, right? So we know my story, right? I end up like, so I saw Puff because my dumb ass one year had to go to summer school. Okay? And summer school was at Mount St. Michael. Okay? And remember, Puff played football for 1 year over at Mount St. Michael.
I didn't know that.
Or he spring, summer, whatever the case may be. He did sports. I'm not even going to say what he did. I'm going to say that summer training was happening on the field. Okay? And what happened is that, as you know, right, Mount Vernon people don't go towards Nearett Avenue. They go down 5th Avenue, right, to go back into Mount Vernon from Mount St. Michael, right? Or either they go down Sanford Boulevard, right, by Tim Sachs Barbershop, right? So that area right there, right, would be a pseudo hotbed of just people talking because some of those kids are from the Bronx and that type of thing, right? So Puff would see me, what you doing? I said, summer school. Okay. Fast forward. So now I'm working where I'm working at, right? And basically what happens is that this is when the KRS Step Into a World record came out. Okay? The record with the Blondie hook, right?
The rap chick, yeah.
So what happened is that at this point in time, and a lot of people don't know this, I, along with one of my other colleagues, used to get invites to Daddy's house. And what would happen is that Puff would play us the albums before they came out. He would have a room full of, like, for lack of a better phrase, ears that he respected or he trusted. Other A&R guys, producers, be in the room, and he would play the album at Daddy's house. So I literally heard Life After Death before it came out. I literally heard Mason's album before it first came out. I'll never forget he first played 112's album, right? And Only You was already out. He played the album, and he played Cupid, and I yelled, I said, motherfucker, if this ain't the next record, you about to fuck up a career, okay? Faith's albums, all the way up to, I'm being honest, we probably heard every Bad Boy album up to Carl Thomas. After Carl Thomas, at that point, he's too damn big at that point. Okay, but to give you perspective, how he kept it 100. After No Way Out, which is the Benjamins album, the second one is Bad Boy in the Family. Burn, 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 burn. Right? We're back for that album. And I remember hearing Diddy for the first time. The D, the I, the D. I lost my damn mind when I heard that record. By the
that
way.
joint is fire.
I was like, oh my God, right? So anyway, what happens is, so why am I saying all that? Because he's playing the Mace album for me, okay? Which hindsight being 2020, an okay album, not a groundbreaking album, okay? But he plays the Been Around the World remix, okay? With Carl Thomas. I'm like, who the fuck is that? Who's the producer on that record? Oh, it's this new guy got Nasheem Merrick, right? I was like, and so in the back of my head, I'm bookmarking, okay? So we do the Step Into the World record. Remember back then, record means remix, okay? So originally, true story, he came to my office. I wanted Pete Rock to do the remix, okay? Pete came to the office with Damien. We had the conversation. We had the reminisce conversation, the whole thing, right? And then Pete came with the price. So I said, Puff, I said, where's this Nasheem kid at? Because this remix is fire pace.
Remember, he loved my remix.
Okay, right, which that one, right? So I'm looking for Nasheem, okay? And remember, me and Puffer just had me in the office of Puff, because at that point in time, there were layers to get to him. So there was like Gwendolyn Niles and, it was Herb and a couple other people, stuff like that. Anel to get to him, and they had the backbone to him. It's like, if you got to them, then you got to him. So anyway, what happened is I said, yo, I'm going to send this record over for Nasheem. I want Nasheem to work on this remix for me, right? As I was doing plural remixes. Cassandra calls me, Lou. Cassandra calls me and says,
Piece of Cassandra or something.
yeah, Cassandra says, Tally. I'm like, what? She says, Puffy's on the phone for you. I'm like, no, he's fucking not. She's like, no, he is on the fucking phone. I said, whatever. So I picked up the phone and I hung up.
You serious?
I picked up the phone. I was like, this is bullshit. Okay, because it's too much going on. It's too much going on at that point. I'm just more happy. I'm gonna go back to the KRS One thing in a minute about why I'm in this place and space. At that point in time, just as a sidebar, and Lou remembers. No, Lou doesn't remember. So Lou wasn't with me at that point. At that point in time, I'm A&Ring 9 albums. I'm doing everybody. Okay, I'm E40. I'm Keith Murray. I'm KRS One. I'm Tribe Called Quest. I'm Spice One.
Mystical too. Right?
Yeah, not mystical yet. I'm Spice One. I'm Too Short. I'm all of them at the same time. No assistant. Okay, and I had to not that I had to share, but me and Dave was sharing Cassandra. Okay, so Puff calls back. He calls back. Is like, yo, just tell Tally it's really me, right? I said, stop playing. He says, so I say, stop playing is what I say, right? And he's yelling in the phone. He's like, yo, why the fuck you didn't tell me this is the KRS One record you was working on? This record is amazing. This is the best record he's ever fucking recorded. You did a... He said, and this ain't Primo? I said, nah, it's not Primo. I said, it's your guy. He said, what is it? I said, that's Jesse West track. What the fuck? I said, what the fuck? I said, yep, that track's in your backyard. I stole it from you. He's like, what? What? I'm calling Jesse right now. I said, Jesse ain't gonna talk to you because you ain't put him out. You ain't take care of him. That's why I got the track. So I'm teasing him the whole thing. He's like, whatever. I don't want to remix this record. I was like, whoa. Nah, that's a different stratosphere. I just wanted to get KRS One a nice little hip hop remix on the side and get some more bombs on Flex. Because I know what Puffy means. Puffy means video, right? It means more, the whole thing, right?
That time is crazy.
He's like, I will be on the remix. I'm like, wait a minute. And I remember, this is the height. This is the height of Bad Hitman production and Bad Boy, where they're getting, what were they getting, Lou? 75 to 150 a jump off. Like 75 was a hug. 75 was the hug.
75 was the fucking front end.
Yeah, but for Mark Pitts when he went to RCA, he would get 75, but he's getting 150 a joint. Okay, he's like, nah, I'll do the record. I said, I can't afford you. He says, no, I'll be on the record. Don't worry about me. Let's pay my guys. That's how much you like the record. So at that point, somebody says, well, I can't cut checks. I got to put you on the phone with the president of the company. Okay, so we talked to Barry Weiss. We ended up doing the remix. The remix became average. It wasn't great, but either way, it was what it is. I remember Pete Rock got mad at me because people was like, I would do a better remix than that. He said, Pete's logic, which actually is correct. Okay, he said, I would have done a better remix for you for a cheaper price. He's kind of right. It would have been expensive for Pete in my eyes at that point in time. No, I'm not gonna say my eyes. In the industry's eyes, right. Okay, because it's a well-known fact that, respectfully, he was charging people. I will say this respectfully. I think we have missed out on a lot of great Pete Rock productions of what could have been done because of what the business of Pete Rock was after Pete Rock became Pete Rock.
Gotcha.
Because we got a lot of Pete Rock remixes. Think about it. We got more Pete Rock remixes than we have Pete Rock. Now we don't. But back then, in that time frame, we have more Pete Rock remixes than we have Pete Rock records.
And they were the bangers, were the remixes.
And the bangers
Shut 'em down.
and the bangers were life changers. They were life changers, like that type of. He was that guy. So I'm saying. So let me get back to the crux of the Puffy question. So now I'm working on this remix with Puff, and Puff is looking at me like, "Yo, I know you." And I said, "Yeah, I'm from I graduated Mount Vernon High School." I said, "Yeah." I said, "You know my brother Chris? You know Chris? You know Chris? Big ass Chris? Big light skinned Chris?" I said, "Yeah, it's my brother."
Right there,
I said, "Yeah, you book the same brother." He says, "Oh my God!" And then, for those that don't know, Mount Vernon has a baby Brooklyn complex, whereas they love themselves some Mount Vernon.
Back then.
Okay. And they love, and for those who are cool with each other, they love the Mount Vernonites that have done Mount Vernon things, to do more things, because the 4 square miles of Mount Vernon have done so much.
We named our crew Mount Vernon, Money Earning Crew.
Right, for the music industry.
Yeah.
So what I'm saying is that solidified a dynamic with me and him, no matter what.
Right.
Like the remix could have been horrible. Okay. So this is how cool it becomes. Like from a standpoint of, I mean, I don't know if he even see me now, he recognize me, whatever the case may be. But like Pete would be going like to Modell's. Okay, and see Chris in the car and stop the car, hop up, like, "What's up, guys? What's going on?" And we have like 20-minute conversations
cool.
as if like we all go to the pizza shop together, right? But what made it real cool is at that point Chris started working at Topps, the baseball card company. And he was a high-level executive there. His job was to do all the rookie shoots. So what would happen, which would be even crazier. So for example, Chris knows Derek Jeter. He knows Alex Rodriguez because he remember when they were rookies. He's taking their pictures, right? So they know him. So the same way he knows Puff, he knows Derek Jeter. So to turn it into a home run of magnitude of craziness, right? We in Miami, because we're at the Source Awards. I invite Chris to come down to the Source Awards on some, I have a suite, just come hang out with me, blah, 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 because he got, he's working at Topps, he got a little bit of money, he can travel, right? We come down, he said, "Oh, we do that, we'll go see the Yankees, they playing the Marlins, right?" So we go there. I go meet Derek Jeter through him. We go to a party in Miami later on that night. So guess who's there? Puff, Derek Jeter, Alex Rodriguez. We go Chris. So it became a big cultural mosh pit, if you will, of all of us in different areas, just on some who knows who stuff that has nothing to do with the culture. And it was very genuine at that point in time. So for me personally, I know there's been other stories about how people feel what's been done, but I don't have a horror story with Sean Combs. My business has always been, we've gotten paid, I've got what I want, we've done things well, he's respecting me, I respected him. If he says he's gonna be there, he be there. Okay? And I remember the second time that I worked with Puff was Too Short. Too Short's writing his rhymes, he's in the booth first. Okay? Puff comes back, he goes, "Oh, we're gonna be all right now." And remember, we're also coming back and forth to hit the projects. You see what I'm saying? So from a creative standpoint, and this is the bit, I guess I'll say this is one of my, I want to say highlights, one of my cosign moments, okay? When he came in the studio and he saw me with Too Short, he said, "I'm good." He walked out like, "I'm not worried about what's going to happen there because that's my dude right there, right?" So he came back and forth a few times to do working, that type of thing, right? So Too Short does his verse. The whole time, right? Big is rolling the L and just looking at Too Short. like we looking at Lou right now, like just rolling the L, looking Too Short, and just I'm like, we going. And in my head, I'm like, we're gonna be here for fucking ever. Because Too Short I'm not saying he's trying to impress Big, but he's trying to be the best Too Short he can be.
Yeah, he knew he had to step his game.
Yeah, and I remember Too Short tried to get lyrical, and I was like, "I don't know if that's gonna work." He said to me, I said, "I don't know if that's gonna work." Yeah. And then I said, so then Puff said, "How's it go?" I said, "You'll hear it when you go in." And then Puff came back and I said, "I can tell him, but I think if you tell him, he'll listen to you because he flew in to come hang out with you." And Puff said the same. I said, "Don't do that. This ain't rap, nigga. This is pimp. I don't need you trying to keep up with this guy. I need you to be the pimp narrator of this damn song. That's what I need. I need Too Short to be Too Short." Okay? So he went back to being normal Too Short, right? But again, I'm saying in the back of my mind, we're going to be here forever because this guy's rolling blunts over here. This guy's
You don't think he's thinking in his head.
Too Short finishes. He comes out. He's listening. He's not semi-nervous. He's like pseudo-nervous, like, "Oh, we all good."
No pat. Nothing.
No, Too Short wrote his stuff out.
I'm talking about
No, Big gets up. Like, first of all, Short comes out, right? He says, "I'm done." right? Remember, Carl Thomas is not Carl Thomas's point. Carl Thomas is the hook guy. He's the hook guy on bending around, right? World, he's not. I wish yet. Okay, so. But it's still, this record's still good. So at that point, we do the whole co-sign, that third, blah, blah, blah. And Biggie's like, nah, pimp, that's exactly what I need. I'm ready. I said, you fucking what? I'm ready. He gets up on that cane, walks in that studio, lays down that verse. And I forgot the line, the first half of the line, but all I know is the line that he said that made me go, oh, I can't with this guy. He's the best of all time. He said, something, 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 something. She got the crib interior decorated. I said, oh, hell. Yeah. I said, Jesus Christ. And remember, I'm watching this guy roll blunts and get high.
And just chill.
And this falls out of his mouth. One take. The 4 hours was turned into a half an hour. I was in bed by midnight.
He did it in one take?
One take.
And it was a rap?
One take, and that's the verse that's on the song. Wow. And when he did it, And this is where, like, if you want to say it's the right way, this is the cachet or the sexy of Christopher Wallace. He told us he was done. It wasn't like he hit that point where he knew where he was in his writing space. See what I'm saying? He wasn't like, let Puff hear it. He's like, I'm done.
Or let me do that again.
Yeah, let me do that again. Or let me do it when
run
Puff
that
gets
back. Let me listen to that.
Yeah. It wasn't even like, and not so much that he didn't respect Puff to say, I want to see if Puff likes it or not. He said, no, that was done. That was done.
That's crazy.
And then he respectfully waited for us to all hear. He said, y'all good? He said, I'm done. He basically said, I'm done. Y'all good?
That's crazy.
Okay. And then Puff came in. And Puff said, "Oh, remember he's doing a double album. Remember, at this point in time, I'm in the midst of his conversations. Like he's talking to Primo while he's doing his verse. You see what I'm saying? While he's trying to fly in Bone Thugs and Harmony. You know what I'm saying? To get that stuff. This is all happening simultaneously. Okay, and he's the A&R person that's executive producing the album, so it's him doing it. You see what I'm saying? It's him with his assistants. It's not somebody else ain't on the album. It's Sean Combs ain't on the album. So he's the present person that's making the decisions. He's actively involved. So that was my introduction to seeing Big do a verse, and I just sat back and I was like, interior decorator. Because again, I'm always how you say. You talk about what impresses you about certain things, right? I never expect that to come out of your mouth. When I see that, I do that. So I'll give another example of an artist that did that to me, and I said, okay, I'm a fan of this guy. I remember the first time I heard this phrase, right? Your crew is featherweight. My gunshots will make you levitate. And I said to myself, I've never heard the word levitate in a rap record ever before. Who the fuck is that guy? Who is that guy? And then use it in the proper context. And then you could close your eyes and say, what he said, I can visualize. Your crew is featherweight. My gunshots will make you levitate. It could be a 22, it could be a 32. I probably can. Yeah. So within that's what I live for when I listen to rappers. I'm not saying that, for example, the voice could still be annoying, that type of thing. But I live for, I'll give you another one. I want you to name one for you, okay? I'm not saying I'm number one. Oh, I'm sorry, I lied. I'm number 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Not 4, 5, 4, and 5. I was like, see, I didn't expect you to say that.
Yeah, I'm all of them. Yeah.
I didn't expect you to say that. Okay, so this is why I'm there.
Yeah.
I'm there.
One of my favorite KRS One's record is A Friend. I thought that was so creative.
Now, so let's talk about that, right?
The melody, the flow, that's one of my lyrically. I just thought he was creative.
Yeah. So now, right? So he's responsible, right? KRS One is responsible for Angie Martinez.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember the joint she was on. I
remember when he did it. I was like, what the hell?
Yeah.
Is this guy doing?
Yeah.
I was like, what is this guy doing? He says Angie Martinez is gonna rhyme on the album. I was like, she's gonna do what?
Yeah.
I was like,
I remember that joint.
And so here's how Redman gets on the album. Once he says, see, Chris is in a hip hop sense a mad genius. Like he'll say things, you're like, that's amazing. He'll say things like, that might be the most off the wall thing you've ever said. Like this may not work. So for example, you ready? Literally, when he said, I'm gonna you know, I'm gonna put Angie Martinez on the album. I said, I need somebody else on this fucking album. I cannot rest my laurels on Angie Martinez being
I
on the
remember
record.
her
Okay,
verse.
and what happened was is that at that point in time, so watch how simple this is, right? So I'm working on. Remember, I'm doing 9 albums at one time.
Mm-hmm.
I'm working on Keith Murray. I call Eric Sherman up. I'm like, where's Reggie? Ask Reggie if Reggie was to get on the KRS-One record, right? Now watch what happens. Okay, so Chris likes to have. He's gonna be mad at me, but it's the truth. Chris likes to come up with his own great ideas. He doesn't want you to come up with a great idea for him. Okay, so here's what I had to do. I had to mix a Keith Murray record in the same studio that KRS-One was in, and I had Redman come do the verse at the Keith Murray session, because of course he's gonna be on anything, that type of thing, right? And as Redman's doing the record, I introduce him to KRS-One. Okay. Chris, Redman. Oh, I respect your success, and I'm looking at Redman like, go in the booth, go in the room, this, that, and third, and it became Chris's idea. Where he came back and said, so, you know, Redman's on the album now. I was like, how is he? Thank you very much. I appreciate that. I had to do that one more time. This is my last story, and I want to hear one of your stories.
No, I want to add on to the KRS thing. Okay. That over the past, 10 years, he was dropping albums people didn't know he dropped. And one of my favorite albums he dropped was Godsville. Did you really listen to Godsville? That was an album he did with Showbiz.
Showbiz.
It was fire.
Now that's when he was going through his theme phase, where he was doing one-off albums with a producer that he liked. And he one of those albums was with Marley Marl, by the way.
He did one with Buckshot,
right?
Which I love, because they got a song called Robot, where he's talking about basically what's still going on now. But then he did one with Marley Marl, which is incredible.
Marley did all the production.
But my favorite was Godsville. For some, I don't know, it was something about.
And Showbiz did the whole album, right?
It's dope. It's some dope joints on there. I'm not gonna say every single track, but the majority of the album is fire.
Or was it his core Bronx crew? He was doing like Showbiz, and he was doing Buck Wild, and he was like those types of things, digging the crates.
Yeah, but it was an album. I want you to when you get a chance to listen to Godsville. Okay. I love that album. I just thought that it should have been bigger than what it was, but we know the time and how things are now. People are not checking. Like De La Soul was making albums that they didn't. They did a joint. Remember the song called Morning Rise with Raheem DeVaughn? People don't even know they made that album. They had the Grind Date. They had another album after that. I'm talking about over the past 10 years. The Grind Date is a great De La Soul album. So there's a lot of this is where I say where I say to a lot of people, and this has been my thing for years. I want to be that dude that introduces people to a lot of stuff that's not being played. Like I always said to you that I want to, remember I told you my dream was to have like a spot, like a lounging place, a listening place, kind of like a place you could come to. I wanted to call it the hole in the wall. And I want to actually have a big hole in the wall with couches. And I want people to come out, and I introduce a lot of rare, unheard, music that's dope, because there's a lot of stuff out there that's fire that people are not, because of what's being played and what's going on, is being ignored. Like I told you, I love Little Brother's album that came out a couple of years ago. That's one of my favorite albums. And Fonte, who's in Little Brother, did a solo album right around that time called, and I want to give you all these, whoever's why I want y'all to take these albums, listen to them. Every time when I come, I'm going to give you some jewels to listen to. Listen to No News is Good News, right? By Fonte. Listen to Elmatic, not Illmatic, Elmatic.
So you have to walk that, because there's two parts to it.
Right, so let me walk that.
You got to tell them who he is.
So let me walk that. So Elzai's with Slum Village, right? So the thing is, he did it. What he did was,
he's the taller one. So to have the head.
I already lived in Atlanta for a while and rapped Atlanta for a while.
He's the one that had the head wrap.
Slim Cat, yeah.
He's the one that
but he took the rap and all that.
Right, he's the one that replaced JD when JD came out, right?
I don't know if he replaced him, but all I know is this project he did is the hottest thing I've ever heard of. I mean, he redid Illmatic. He has a producer named Will Sessions. Is what's so fire about what they did. Not only did they take the songs and do them over, they didn't resample anything. Everything's played over. Every track is done over. The hooks and everything with new lyrics. And it's off the wall lyrical.
So let me ask this question. Is it the same sequence as well, too?
Everything. It's the same format. And that's why you sit down. I'm telling you, when I come, I'm going to give you stuff like this for you to listen to. I want you to listen to Little Brother's album, May the Lord Watch. That's their last album a couple of years ago. I want you to listen to Fonte, No News, Good News. I want you to listen to Elzai, Elmatic. Those are albums I play all the time in rotation. And like, they're older albums that I still today pop in. I think are great albums that a lot of people didn't I don't know if they didn't catch on to it or because of what was being played at the time didn't get the attention. But my favorite Brand Nubian album is The Foundation. That's like their last album before they kind of fell apart.
First single. Wait, is that the one that had Don't Let It Go to Your Head?
Verse, Hate,
Does
and
it-
Probable Cause.
Is it that's one has the Don't Let It Go to Your Head?
That's that album.
Produced by Chris Liggio.
Fire album. Fire. That's my. Now listen, we all know the first Brand Nubian album is always classic forever. Come on,
So that's
one
it.
for all. But
This one.
Foundation.
Here. This one here.
Kenny wants y'all to listen to
This one here?
Mobb Deep Infamy.
No. Wait, hold on.
The first
No.
Mobb Deep is the greatest
Actually, I will defer. No. Before you listen to Mobb Deep Infamy, please, by all means, listen to the first Brand Nubian album. This boy would drive me.
Yeah, absolutely. No,
crazy.
that's the.
Wait.
That's
Hold on.
forever classic.
Wait. What's the stupid lyric? I call it stupid, not because it's a bad lyric, because he said it so many times it drove me lyric. Can a Muslim? What's the line with
Oh,
Bubby?
can he fool a Muslim nowadays, bro? Not that he did fool us 20, 50 years ago. Yeah.
Nah, that's my favorite.
Yeah.
This
But-
one here, boy.
But the foundation.
I couldn't get him though. I tried my best to get him to dance like Lord Jamal and Derek X, but he wouldn't do that.
Kenny, did you listen to the Foundation? That last album?
Anything Brand Nubian he listened to.
Oh, I'm a Brand Nubian fan for
He
sure.
listens to everything
and
Brand
let me
Nubian.
give you a story. Here I go with a story again.
Because wait,
I was kind of ignorant
here's
to the
why.
Brand Nubian. Let me give you a story. Let me give you a story.
New Rochelle, by the way.
Back in
Mount Vernon, New Rochelle.
right next door, neighbors, just like Yonkers. We all neighbors. But back then, I was doing a lot of production, and that was like the Teddy Riley time, and I was doing all this New Jack Swing and all this stuff. And there was a kid from the Vernon. What's my man? He had like a Muslim name. He was talking about the Brand Nubians before they dropped. He said, I'm bringing my man to your crib, so I want you to work with these dudes. He brought Lord Jamal to my house. And I'm in my bedroom, and he's rapping over my beats. And I'm looking at him. And at the time, I was rapping and doing my thing. And I didn't embrace. I could have probably been on the first Brand Nubian album, but I was being real shallow and ignorant to. Wait, I was watching them and listening. I'm like, okay, he sound good, but. And I ignored them, and I didn't put tracks together for them. And he brought them to my crib. But the great thing, here's another story. I started DJing. I lost my job at the phone company. I started DJing at Gilmore's, a strip club. This is 90, 91, 92 on Boston Road. Fool's Paradise, the strip club. I took whatchamacallit's job. I took Chuck Chillout's job. And I remember I was up there DJing. He came in mad. And I was like, what's up, man? He mad. Oh, don't fuck, nigga. Smoke a blunt. Get out the way. He grabbed me and say he mad at me. Like, he hired me because I was going to do it for less. And he heard me spend. So I started seeing Lord Jamal there. He remembered me. And I'm surprised. He was like,
Lord
oh,
Jamal, Lord Jamal has a great memory, by the way.
And he showed me a lot of love. What I'm saying is he showed me a
people.
lot of love.
He doesn't forget
a lot
people.
of people used to come there, like at Love. Every time I saw Grand Poobah, I had to play The Far Side Passing Me By. So there was a time when he would come in and he would go like this, and I would just put it on. But he would get mad when I throw in his joints. He go, nah, I'll start playing. What goes around? He's like, no, turn that off. But another great story is Vance Wright used to come there all the time.
Wait, finish the Lord
No,
Jamal
this is
story.
part of the same story.
Okay.
So Lord Jamal would be there, and Olin would be there. Vance Wright.
Vance Wright lived off of Main Street.
Now he's in
New
Atlanta.
Rochelle.
Now he's in Atlanta. But me and him started getting close and actually talking and hanging out. I would come to his house in New Rochelle. And I never forget this day. He said to me, E, I got a surprise for you. Okay, cool. I'm DJ. He said, I'll be back. And I think I was getting off at 2 a.m. He said, I'm going to wait for the time you get off. Got something for you. Slick Rick just got out. And he brought him in. I see him come in. With homeboy with the patch. I lost my mind. He had just got out. So I saw Slick Rick when he first got out.
The day he got out.
When he got out, he brought him to the club. And I jumped in the car with him. Of course, they smoking, they read, they talking, they doing whatever. And we drive to his crib, and I didn't realize his crib was right there, Monday Lane, borderline.
Yeah,
I never
Mount
knew
Vernon,
he
yeah.
lived.
Slick Rick.
Monday Lane.
He lived
I
on
never
Monday
knew
Lane.
that.
Slick
We
Rick lived on
drove
Monday Lane.
right in front of the
He
crib.
sure did.
I didn't know that. We sitting in front,
knew
and I'm
that.
sitting there with Slick Rick,
I knew
legend, at Cousin Vance, right? And I'm sitting there, and I'm like, I'm playing it cool. And they keep passing the weed back. Nah, I don't smoke. I have my blue Heineken, whatever. And it just bugged me out. That these are just memories that are good memories that I had to share with you.
I remember he lived on Money Lane. I remember when Ghostface wanted Slick Rick on his album, and I found Slick Rick through Vance Wright to get on the record. That's how I got Slick. I found him, and then we got him picked up. And I remember I had a conversation with him. I said, "Do you know one of my favorite moments in hip hop?" He said, "What?" I said, "When you're doing the moment that I feared, right? And you say, I meet Veronica's place that's right off Tilden." And we know where Tilden is in the Bronx. Yeah. Like that was a moment for me.
That's crazy.
That was a moment for me when you said that. Like, because we literally know exactly where that is. And then you said, I know that it's just right next to my building. I lost my damn mind. I was like, I'm just saying that that the vividness of how you broke things down. And when you said, I said, that was an absolute moment for me because Tilden off of Bronxwood. I know exactly. I know what you're talking about. I know what building that is. There is a building there. That's exactly what you're talking about.
And every time we talk about something, it brings me to something else. Like now with the Slick Rick thing. What I love that me and my boys, we get together, my crew that I knew for 30-something years. I have a group of fellas. We all good friends. We'll get together and we'll say, all right, give us your top 5 greatest albums ever made.
Oh, Jesus.
You know, and that but the thing is, see, we don't argue about it. We actually, because people come up, because somebody say that Ventures of Slick Rick, and you can't say no because it's one of the greatest hip hop albums it is. You know what I mean? For me, I have my top 3 or whatever will always be Reasonable Doubt, Ready to Die, Illmatic, or whatever. But then you'll have some other dude that say Paid in Full or Long Live the Cane. You know what I mean? So yeah, that
I have a Cuban Link story. Okay. So this is when I was working with so Method Man gets signed by Def Jam. Older the Bastard gets signed by Elektra. Genius gets signed by Geffen. By Geffen Records, right?
Christopher Williams is label.
And RZA gets signed to Polygram, right? So Ghost and Ray aren't signed. Okay?
I think I remember.
And what happened was that Loud had a first right of refusal deal where basically the guys can go out and seek a deal. WuTang is signed to Loud as a collective, but individually you can go out to go get your own deal.
I think you told
and
me.
then if nothing happens, we'll have a conversation and you can come back and be as an individual on Loud. Okay? Mm-hmm. So I'm in the A&R meeting. And they bring it up. They say Ghostface and Raekwon are available. I lose my goddamn mind. I'm like, are you? It is a no fucking writer for me. No, not Raekwon. Raekwon and Ghost. I said the Batman and Robin of WuTang. I want them immediately. And remember, guys. Remember, at this point in time, I'm working with the Keith Murrays and the Tribe Called Quest and the KRS-One. So in my mind, I'm like, this is perfect for me. This is a layup for me. Okay. Long story short, as you know, Raekwon and Ghost did not get signed to Jive Records. Okay? As I'm working with Ghostface when I'm at Sony, at this point in time, I'm having good conversations with RZA and Divine, the whole thing, right? Unknown factoid that people do not know. Okay? The Raekwon and Ghost album, only built for Cuban Links, the Raekwon album, is technically the second WuTang album. That is what was going to be the WuTang album. So when Ray and Ghost went back, so when Ray got signed to Loud, the onus to sell Ray and to boost him up was basically saying, we're going to give the WuTang album to Ray. And we're going to basically put him on 4 or 5 more records and showcase him, and that's going to be the album. So Only Built for Cuban Links is technically was supposed to be the second WuTang album. Think about that for 2 seconds. And when you think about how it sounds, and you go back and think about the records, and you think about the sequence and the appearances, it literally is a WuTang album. It just has Ray's name smacked on the front of it with a couple more verses. But Louis plays out that 4th way. So that's another factoid, true story.
I still throw the 36 Chambers in there. There's certain albums where I'm driving, I pop in the Foundation.
See, I don't know.
I pop in the 36 Chambers. I pop this.
See, 36 Chambers doesn't do it for me as a great album. 36 Chambers does it for me as an impact album.
I love that album.
As an impact album.
My favorite is Shame on the Nigga Who Tried to Run Game on the Nigga. It's something about that.
I think the best part about the 36 Chambers album is I gotta make sure I say it's the right way. I gotta be careful with this word, but the genius of RZA to navigate that whole thing. He basically is a Quincy Jones with hood niggas.
Yeah. I guess you could say that.
Because he's the one that says, "Come next is Ghostface Killer." But he knows that Dirty's gonna do that. He knows he's going to do that. You see what I'm saying? And to put Genius before him. Who's your A&R? Mountain Climber? Like, you know what I'm saying? To come with Dirty afterwards, because Dirty has that voice to pick it back. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of intricacies of putting these things together. You know, so that whole thing, the Abbott, that whole thing, that's I think that's a well-deserved title for the right reasons. And then I remember that when each one of them came out solo, each one of their singles were bullseye records for them. Right? Like the Genius record, ding, ding, ding. I was like, that's a great record for him. RZA on the track. I was like, that's a great record for
I
Genius.
used to like Beneath the Surface.
And I
Beneath the Surface.
I remember the very first time I heard Brooklyn Zoo, I said, oh no,
Yeah,
oh
crazy.
no,
Yeah, crazy.
oh no, oh no, he's got it. He's got it. Because this record sounds nothing like Bring the Pain.
What's your favorite WuTang record? Is it The Triumph?
I can't, I have to be discounted.
You got one song.
I got to be
You gonna
disqualified.
say The Triumph?
I have to be disqualified from that because I'm involved.
Gotta be The Triumph.
No, I'm a little more, I'm too intimately involved with them as a collector, so I'm disqualified.
What about y'all? The Triumph, y'all? Favorite WuTang record? If you had to pick a song?
Triumph's at the bottom of this one.
Really? The Triumph?
I wasn't big on that record.
I love The Triumph.
But
And the video? Oof. Is it from the 36 Chambers or it's from another album?
my favorite, whether as a collective.
Yeah,
whether
the
there's,
crew.
let's say,
The crew.
3 of them rhyming.
The whole
Yeah,
crew.
right.
The whole crew.
So the minimum 3 on the
The
record,
crew.
right?
It has to be for me, and I don't remember the name of the track, but from the Cuban Links album where Deck started it off. Poisonous rap, half and half, and be the inspector Deck on the warpath.
Oh yeah, that joint.
Like they all cut ass on that one.
Mm-hmm.
They all cut ass on that one.
I also like that by the time they got to Triumph, they had hit their stride as far as them all being comfortable with each other and knowing when to come in and come out. Like it was not like you sometimes you get lost in the fact that they all want to do 16 bars just to feel they're doing their own thing. Once they got to Triumph, they would know, like Meth would know, 6 bars is enough. I'm out. That type of thing.
Did you enjoy Of Mics and Men? That was dope. The documentary that was on Showtime. That was dope.
So
did y'all watch that?
So I'll let you speak about the documentaries. I have an issue with documentaries. Okay, I have a major issue with documentaries, and Lou knows this. Okay, there are a lot of times where the information doesn't include the proper people.
No. Let me just interject.
And because of such,
let me just interject on that real quick. What's so dope about this? They told their own story. They spoke. No one was there saying, "Yo, so they were the ones. They were the ones in the theater."
That's not my point.
But what I like about it is they're in the theater, and I love you, man. And they're talking. Oh, I remember this, and I like the way they did it together.
Okay, so the interaction part,
was dope.
I'll totally co-sign. But what nobody's ever going to do is speak about.
Let me say it.
Okay.
Let me say it. It is the equivalent of them doing a Tribe Called Quest documentary and not including Bob Power. I'll leave you out. Right? And not including Bob Power, who was their engineer that was able to get Ali and Tip's musical thoughts into a format that was made for records. Like without Bob Power,
There's no Tribe sound.
Tribe doesn't have a sound.
Okay.
Which means that later on you don't got some Village sound, you don't got Jay Dilla sound.
I'll give you one better. I'll give you one better. I'll give you the best one of all. You don't have Dr. Dre. Because Dr. Dre literally said that Low in Theory is what motivated me to care about mixing. Literally said those words. I heard that album and says, oh, no. I got to do stuff differently. So when you don't have Bob Power in their documentary, you don't have the Tribe documentary. I don't care what Q-Tip and Fife says. Okay?
Even what Outkast said the same thing
about Tribe. But
Said the
what
same
I'm
exact
saying is that I'm just going to use this name. I'm 1,000% sure they didn't mention Steve Rifkin's name 3 times in the damn documentary. Okay? And I'm telling you with a straight face, at minimum, Steve Rifkin wrote the check for him to do all this. Because remember, they're recording a record but by the time you get to the second album, do you know how much it costs to get these guys to stay in one room? If you record a record in LA and they from Staten Island, you gotta put them all in the hotel room and put them up in there for 2-3 days, and they want to bring their mama and their kids.
The other part of that, which is huge, which is why it's kind of a tragedy that Rifkin's name isn't mentioned, is that before the WuTang, deals like that didn't
exist.
Going back to what Tally was going to first, right? Loud says, I will sign you all and then allow all of you to go and get solo deals
Elsewhere.
That's unheard of. Not to mention, we're not
it is.
talking about Wu coming in with leverage of you know, we got stadiums filling out and all of this. Like, this is coming from just him
From the
being a
dirt.
guy who loves hip hop and is like, for any reason, let me sign you and I will let you have whatever you want. That is unheard of.
Well, the promo guys that work the records, because it's a different sound. You see what I'm saying? You're talking to bringing in WuTang and a native tongue generation.
Word.
Okay? How who's getting those records played? So what I'm saying is that I'm not discounting everything that they said, but what we just mentioned, none of that's even being broached in their conversation, even if that even existed, and that is pie in the sky. So I have a problem with documentaries because they don't do that.
Right,
they don't go see those people.
Like the WuTang documentary isn't a WuTang documentary if you don't talk about like Stretch and Papito.
Yes.
Because they actually got their deal on the backs of that radio show.
Yes.
That's a fact. That's a fact.
Yeah. And what they also don't do is they don't speak about the genius of their uniqueness of being different that brings them together. What I mean when I say that is that they just talk about how much they love Old Dirty. They don't talk about the crazy of Old Dirty, and within the crazy, you don't get him on Ghetto Superstar. He broke into the session on Ghetto Superstar. He wasn't invited.
I didn't know that either.
He broke into the session.
That's crazy.
But that's a magnificent story.
Yeah, that's crazy.
You see what I'm saying? RZA ain't talking about the fact that him and Eric Sherman wanted no parts of Method Man and Redman being together. That was a Def Jam exercise. Def Jam was like, nah, he smoked weed, they on Def Jam, and we gonna do this together. And we always see them together smoking weed.
And
you
I'm
might as
looking-
well make a record.
And I'm looking for a Blackout 3 because Blackout 2 got slept on. The Blackout 2 was slept on.
They eventually
slept on. I like that album
They
a lot.
eventually had to do it, but I'm not knocking documentary. I'm saying that documentaries don't do that, and thank you for representing it the right way, so it doesn't come across as
I understand.
I'm not saying it's bitter, but just
I got it.
ingenuous.
I got it.
Ingenuous. The Bar Power thing is huge, and Bar Power is not in the Tribe Called Quest documentary. That you don't get that, and if there's anything that we all said about Tribe Called Quest after we liked the record, said you had this shit sounds. We all like this. You had this sound.
Just sonically, it's off the chain.
Nothing that sounded like it before.
They're crazy. The bass, the snares, it's crazy.
Midnight Marauders was destined to be successful just because you want to hear that sound again with new beats. The album delivered, but literally half of the charm of the next Midnight Marauders, like I just want to hear them mix record like this again. So yeah, that's what we go with that.
Another person I want to say R.I.P. to, Marky D. I got good memories with him because Bob Celestin wanted to manage him. So we hung around him a lot
Prince Marky
back
D.
in those days. You know, he did those 2 solo albums that didn't get much play. That's dope.
Yes, Trippin' Out was a hot record.
Swing My Way. And he had
Swing
2
My
albums.
Swing My Way was a good record too.
He had 2 albums with the Soul Convention he was calling it.
I wonder, so I'm gonna say something's gonna sound crazy, and I'm being a conspiracy theorist right now. Okay, I'm wondering, industry-wise, because you know they had the whole thing like with promo, basically whether it be payola or not be payola or breaking certain records. Remember, the word top 40 comes from this situation that we have 40 records to play. So who's in that 40? Okay, so it's the same thing at all radio stations. So I'm wondering if the Prince Marky D albums got slept on. Watch where I'm going with this, because he literally was making Heavy D records, and Hev already had the lane.
I mean, that's something.
And Hev had the lane.
On. You know, it's possible. Sometimes I think it's just timing. And who's
No,
out at the time.
but I'm going back a little bit. If you put glasses on Prince Marky D,
yeah, he does remind you of Heavy. That's true. I never thought of that. But
and the only thing
songs did sound similar.
And what he did differently, they made him do it, is he used to have male dancers.
Yeah.
They made him get girl dancers on purpose. They said, because you look like
Heavy. Yeah, I didn't think about that. That's crazy.
Sometimes that
Soul
happens.
convention.
And I'm saying that because we have a person in the room that used to do street promotions for a record label, and if he was working, and he's going to help me out here, if he was working a Showbiz and AG record, which was good, and had a J. Rue record, which was good, and had a CNN record, which was good, the program director would say, which one am I playing? Yeah, I can't play all 3 because your contemporary from your other labels come in, he's gonna have 3 records too. I can't play all your labels, all your records. And they will all be good records. It could be Come Clean, it could be TONY, and it could be, who's the first artist I said? I said Showbiz and AG. It could be No, best kept secret is Diamond D. But what I'm saying is that, but they're all viable. But that's promo land.
Soul Clap.
Yeah, it could be Soul Clap. Soul Clap. All good records. Soul Clap's a great record. That's what Puffy remixed the KRS record with, by the way. But when you go to the radio station and saying, so literally, it could literally be, they just walked in here with "Is It Good to You" by Heavy D, and you coming in here with "Tripping Out."
Yeah, swing my way. Yeah.
I got one. I'm not being funny. I'm just making a joke for this.
No,
I got one fat rapper right here. So what?
That's kind of like Big
tough.
Pun when Big Pun was out with Fat Joe.
Punchy the fat bastard.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Well, again, let's take.
Can we just give
let's take
some props? Northeast Bronx, Mount Vernon, and New Rochelle.
Yonkers. Oh yeah.
That
hub.
area
That hub.
When you put a circle around there, you're talking about people who move the buttons and the culture.
Or what's my phrase? If you take them out of the timeline, hip hop doesn't exist.
Exactly.
So there's some rappers I don't like because if you take them out of the timeline, hip hop will still be the
Still
same.
be rocking. It's gonna go on.
Nothing would happen. You take that general, you take out the Bronx, Mount Vernon. Yeah, that's a problem. Because you're basically saying there's no Slick Rick, there's no Grand Poobah, right? If there's no Grand Poobah, there's no Brand Nubian because he put Brand Nubian together.
Well, actually, before them, they were the Masters of Ceremony.
And Masters of Ceremony
with
Masters
Don
Ceremonies,
Barron.
right? With
They
Don
were the
Barron.
original. They were before the Nubians.
Don Barron.
They were part of that.
You don't get Heavy D. You don't get Pete Rock. Right.
And then Yonkers with DMX.
And then Yonkers with DMX, the Locks, Mary.
Yeah, Mary.
Right, and then Sean Combs is in there too. Harlem in there as well. Right, and all the people that go along with that. So yes,
Absolutely.
Yes. What do you think, Mr. Lee? I think that was a good way to kind of walk this one a little bit. See, harmless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Harmless.
Talking about what you love and your passion is always easy. You know?
You did miss a Puff story though.
Which Puff story did I miss?
R. Kelly and Big.
When
Yeah, the facility, right? Wasn't there a trade off?
So all right, so here we go. So my first job in the music industry is I cleared samples. Okay? The reason I'll tell the story so it makes sense because it has to have some context. The way I got the job is the A&R person was working on Tribe Called Quest. And at that point in time, Tribe Called Quest was not giving up the sample information. Because they did. At that time, it was a game. If you find it, we can clear it. But if you can't find it, it must be obscure. So don't pay the sample. All producers was that way. They didn't get caught up in the suing thing, right? And they didn't think the, quote, executives had the bandwidth to dig the stuff up, right? So anyway, here's literally what happened. So the A&R guy's playing the record. I walked by his office and I said, that's Ronnie Jordan. He says, what? I said, that's Ronnie Jordan. He says, you know who that is? I said, yeah, I got the album at home. He's like, I need that album right away.
That's crazy.
I was like, I'm dead serious. It's Ronnie Jordan. Okay. So I go home, right? Because my dad's supposed to have the album. The album's not there. I can't find the album. Now, in my head, I know exactly what the album cover looks like. I know the record because I've been through everything in the catalog. Because my dad had the 3 big cabinets of all albums jazz. I listened to every last one of them. Okay? So basically, the very next day, I went downtown to the Village, found an old record store, paid $80 for the album out of my own broke-ass pocket. Okay? Walked in the office, and here's the beauty of it, because this is the true story. Literally said, boop, boop, boop. There's the loop right there. He was like, holy shit, that is the fucking loop, right? So they had the record, which means they had all the ASCAP and BMI information. They cleared the sample. They have to give a report to the artist and accounting because you have to know where the money's being spent. So the sample clearance number comes in for clearing that sample. So Chris Lighty and Tribe are like, how'd you find this shit? Who did this? Who did this? Okay? So they tell him there's a intern upstairs. His name is Kenyatta Atali. He had the record. He brought it in. The very next day, Q-Tip comes up to the office and says, who's the tally guy? Who's the tally guy? Where's the tally guy? Who is this guy?
That's crazy.
Okay? And everybody's like, oh, shit. Q-Tip's yelling. Who doesn't yell? Right? And then Ali's behind him like, yeah, we got to see this motherfucker right now. Ali's cursing. Right? They're like, how'd you find this? So we started having a musical conversation. Not a hip-hop conversation, not a rap conversation, a musical conversation. After that point in time, literally, Tribe Called Quest had closed sessions. because off the heels of Low in Theory, everybody wanted to be around them. All the people in the studio was downstairs. They would come walking the sessions. They couldn't concentrate, couldn't focus. So they had a list of who can come in the office, who come in the studio, right? So I was blessed to say, he can come to the studio. I don't know about everybody, but he can come because he ain't going to be a problem. He understands our stuff. He gets it. At that point in time, I developed a relationship with Q-Tip. Remember this, Ken? I had Angie as my girlfriend at that point in time, and Angie would make sure that I would look the part. I'm an intern. I'm broke, but my girlfriend from Brooklyn made sure I looked the part. Okay, so Q-Tip saw me as having a little bit of style. So he would say, "Yo, you want this jacket? I don't wear it no more." It'd be like a polo jacket he wore, like a magazine article. So they would like trade our clothes, and then me and Fife would have conversations about sports all day. He's a sports fanatic. That's how I got in good with Tribe. What does that all mean? Once I found the Ronnie Jordan sample, the officers were like, "Oh wait, that's some obscure stuff. What else does he know?" So they're playing rap. Oh, that's the meters. That's that. We're gonna hire you. We're gonna offer you a job. Okay? I called Ken up and said, "Ken, you gonna offer me a job? 26 grand. I'm balling." That's how much they paid me back then.
That was money back.
26 grand. And they gonna give me office
Early
space.
90s.
And they gonna give me office space, which was basically we moved the copier out the way and put a desk in the back with a chair, and here's your space.
I used to come down to see you.
Okay?
I used to come down to see you. I remember those days. You introduced me to my man Fife. Rest in peace.
Yeah. So that's how I got into the sample clearance game. So bringing it up, so that's how I got in from a credibility standpoint. So what happens is that now we have sample clearance meetings. And in the meetings, we're playing all the records that have samples. And it's our job to see if they identify them, if they're lying. Like, E40 said it's this. Is that it, Kenyatta? Yes, that's it. No, it's not it. This one. Like, for example, E40 would loop the Gap Band, but he would loop a piece from Outstanding, but say it's another record, because Outstanding's going to cost more money. Because it's their most popular record. He was saying, no, that's from Outstanding. That's the real joint, right? So anyway, one day a record comes in and they said, and this is, we're talking about business affairs who doesn't understand the industry. They're like, yeah, so that kid, the kid that was, working with Andre, he has a label now. Remember they had that one hit with the flavor in your ear, that one hit. He has the new guy now, this guy, Biggie Smalls. These are his records that we're going to be listening to right now. The first thing I hear, do, 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 do. Biggie Smalls is the illest. I say, what the fuck is that? I'm like, what the fuck is that? What is that? I'm like, yo, I swear to God, that's got to be Primo production.
You hear it's Primo.
Okay? No, but to them, they're like, what's wrong with him? I'm like, you're not hearing me. You're really not hearing me. This record, I don't know. What did he sample? The hook to Your Body's Calling? Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. You need to rate Bad Boy on the publishing. Because this record, I promise you, is going to be a monster in the streets. The second this hits, it's going to fly off the streets. Okay? They said, are you sure? I said, with a straight face. I said, I banked my job on it. That's some cocky 20 shit. Okay? But I said, I banked my job on it. That's going to be the biggest record on the street. That's how much I know this is going to be big. So they went to Puff and said, you won't have to get up off this money. Right? I said, don't do that. They said, wait, don't do that. I said, you're not catching it. This guy's about to be the it guy in the business. You need to trade off. You need a Biggie verse on R. Kelly. You need a Puffy appearance on Keith Murray. Not sample clearances. Mm-hmm. You need him. You need the label.
Exactly.
Okay? So, again, above my pay grade. Okay? But he did listen to me. Okay? And that's how Biggie ended up on Hump Bounce. Okay? And that's how R. Kelly ended up on Fucking You Tonight. Mm-hmm. With a check in between. Mm-hmm.
Makes sense.
With a check in between. And Puff was mad. Because Puff said, who do you have over there? Because his business savvy is, he knew that was going to be the joint single. Maybe the joint single. Juicy and Unbelievable were joint singles. Right? And he's like, who do you have over there? Because who's hearing this to put you in a position to negotiate this way? Because you ain't supposed to know this to do that, right? Then he found out it was me again. After he's like, "Oh, you the one that's over there. That's messing up my situation. You again." So that's the biggest story of me with Puff. working back there and going back there. So I cleared samples for a long time. And the beauty of clearing samples, although they didn't pay me a lot, is I heard everything early. Everything early. R. Kelly's album was finished. You want to listen to it? They'd be like, take it home. Like the album with Half on the Baby and the album, the double album, like those huge albums. I had all those albums like before they were mastered. It's crazy. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. Crazy stuff. All right? Yeah, we good. We good.
Yeah, we good. Now we could go in the studio and I want to hear his tracks.
He wants to hear tracks.
Hear his tracks.
Okay.
Yeah. Can we? We got time? Listen to some tracks?
It's Friday. I don't know. He may have a session. I don't know.
I don't know. I don't know if you get to see. I got mines in my phone though. Unless
I don't have.
Unless I got Bluetooth for this because I don't have.
You see him looking at me again?
With this iPhone, how can I play mine? Right. It's just got to be some Bluetooth.
Did you catch the sarcasm?
Yeah.
I thought I was the only person that does that.
First thing we're gonna do is get into that Bruno's Bars record.
Yes. Yeah, I need to hear that too.
Yeah, I was listening to
I already hit up all my lady friends on that one. They all hit me back.
Give him the clothes.
So what's going on? Oh, so this is industry rule number 4080, where content and context count. Remember this always: light and darkness cannot coexist at the same time. So if you're going to choose to be the light.